Well, hello everyone. Today is our first edition of Tiger Talk, and we're going to kick things off here with none other than Mr. Mike Carey. Mike Carey, are you there?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good under these conditions, just being under house arrest along with the rest of the world. And yourself, sir.
About the same. I'm actually glad this is set up and working correctly. We're hitting off this season three in this coronavirus pandemic. Um,
Yeah. So this
so
will
we're
be
gonna.
quick. Yeah. So we're doing this Tiger Talk with a special guest. Why don't you go ahead and introduce him, and I'll bring him in. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I wanted to have this discussion about distant minds. So it's just a general conversation about anything in between, extraterrestrials and aliens, etc. Visitations to maybe Earth or just anywhere in the cosmos, really. And I thought Carlos Disla, one of my coworkers, would actually be a great person to have this discussion with. Very logical guy, very down to earth, no pun intended, and really love the way that he comes to some of his conclusions and how he uses his epistemology. But yeah, very good friend of mine that I work with, and I'd love to have him come on now.
Okay, terrific. Carlos, how are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing? Nice meeting you, man.
Pretty good, pretty good. Um, just trying to just get nice and relaxed here and just take each day by day. What's as much as we can do.
Yep. I think everybody's on the same condition right now in house arrest. It's not
Yeah,
much you can do outside, but you can do magic inside.
true.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to jump right in doing some of my research for this talk, because I know you know probably a lot more, or you have a lot more to bring to the table than myself, in particular on this subject. But I wanted to do a little research, and I came across this guy, Travis Walton. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Um, there was a movie that came out in the early '90s, like '93, called Fire in the Sky, and
Oh,
it,
yes.
yeah, and then there was a book, but
Yeah.
the story. I'm about 20 minutes left in the movie, but I pretty much got the gist. But the movie is just basically there's these seven guys. They're like loggers or something. They cut wood and they cut down trees and shit like this. And I guess they're leaving one of these long days, and they're driving back in their truck. They're all kind of carpooling. Um, and they see some fire in the sky, and it looks like red lights or whatever it is. They pull over. They're trying to figure out what it is. One of the guys is super big balls and gets out, and he's like, I'm gonna go touch this thing. So he walks out. Everyone's saying he's an idiot. Get back in the fucking truck. And fast forward, he gets zapped by this like white light. And at first he like freezes, and he looks back at everybody like, my bad. And then it kind of blasts him, and he jumps and falls to the floor. So they step on the gas. They take off. They argue about leaving him behind. The guy kicks everybody out of the truck, goes back, and he can't find him. Right. So that's kind of how everything starts. And, they start telling everybody that, hey, my buddy, this happened to him. Some big flashlight, went on him. And we, got scared. We thought he died. And we went back to go find him, and he wasn't there. We should go look for him. And then everyone's kind of like, well, I thought you said he's not there. So where are we going to look? So a week goes by, and people start looking at them kind of crazy, like maybe you guys killed this guy. So they're interrogating them. They're really grilling these motherfuckers, and it gets to a point where they're like, we got to do a polygraph. This is back in the '90s, so polygraph is like ironclad, like this is real science. And but so they're a little iffy on doing that because they're like, well, what if we're telling the truth and we fuck up on the polygraph and everybody thinks that we're lying? So they decide to do it. All of them, six of them left. And 5 of them all passed the polygraph, and one of them was just inconclusive. And they said maybe.
Yep.
I'm wrapping this up. I guess the internet's getting tired of the story, but but just basically, you know, they were like, oh, they're all telling the truth. And then the guy Travis actually calls some, you know, one of the guys in the group after a week, and they, you know, they go out to some rest stop somewhere, and he's like butt naked, you know, and it's pouring rain and the whole thing, and they put a blanket on him, and he has to go to like psychotherapy, and they're trying to, you know, no one can get any answers out of him. Where were you? What's going on? He has weird cuts on his face. And anyway, long story short, the story is that he was abducted. He was experimented on. You know, they're flicking his bean, they're twisting his nipples, they're doing these things, and you know, they're greasing him up, and then they let him free. They let him loose. So yeah, you know, National, you know, Enquirer, he gets this movie, some, you know, some support group, or some not a support group, a focus group that is, you know, nonprofit that's into this type of stuff, actually gave him cash. They gave him a $5,000 reward, if you want to call it a reward, but a $5,000 honor, I should say, for having the most credible extraterrestrial case encounter, right, or at least, you know, claim that was put out. And you know, so obviously in today's time, you know, it'd be worth more than 5,000. I think the actual incidents took place in like the 80s, and then they made the movie in 93. But you know, so maybe 15,000, or however you want to say it. But yeah, so I watched the movie pretty much, and I said, you know what, let me see. I'm sure there's an actual interview, you know, sit down face to face with this guy. So just really quick, the interview, I get about 2 minutes into the interview, and the interviewer is like, hey, you know, out here in Arizona, so you guys got a lot of Mormon activity going on out here. Is that what you're into? Or maybe you do something else, or maybe you're not religious, or, you know. And he's like, oh yeah, I was raised in the Mormon church. So I'm like, Travis, now what little bit of credibility I was going to allow, now I'm like, you believe that there's a deity that came from the planet Kolob and came to Earth, right? And you know, physically has sex with Mary, and you know, the whole Mormon idea. So he already has the religion indoctrinated in him to think that not just like a, you know, a regular Christian, you know, a deity, but that it's of like an alien origin. And then part of someone can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but part of the belief of the Mormons, again, I'm iffy on this part of it, but something to do with, you know, how the Muslims, if they die, they get 72 virgins or whatever. The Mormons apparently, after you die, after the evisceration of all the non-believers, they get their own planet. They get their own planet. So he already has this interstellar, this cosmic, you know, role playing going on. So that was kind of like, I tried to watch a little bit more of the movie, but once I had this guy's a Mormon, and then he's doing the, you know, the alien thing, I felt like I kind of wasted my time. But anyway, I wanted to share that.
He appeared on a talk show. I don't know if you recall this, but it was used to be this talk show called "Are You Telling the Truth?" And I don't remember if he actually took the test or not. I really should have I can look into this now, but I think either he took the test and he failed, or he refused to take the test, and that's the last I've heard of him from that story. But that was around maybe a little bit past 2000, and had to be past 2001 where that show was out. To tell the truth, yeah.
But Carlos, when you're thinking about like the term aliens, or when you hear aliens, aside from Hollywood,
Yep.
Are you more of the idea that, you know, because it's something like the Drake equation, the possibility of, you know, distant minds existing, you know, some other end of the cosmos, It's possible. Or do you also take it a step further and say, not only is something even like a mushroom on another planet, which would be, would be considered life, it's intelligent, and it has navigated to the Milky Way and to the Earth, and interacted with someone like Travis Walton, for example. Just for example.
Well, so here's the thing. For me, I just don't know when people talk about of abductions, because basically it's just a unique and personal supposedly experience that in only for you to know that it's true, you have to get inside of that people's brain and dig in and actually see what happens.
Beam
Because
them up, yeah.
basically, it's a lot of things that appears to maybe be true, but I mean, there's no way um, that you can take that evidence and put it out there for everybody to know that it's true. You know,
Mm.
Now you share a movie from the 90s. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with The Fourth Kind. It's a movie that interacts with supposedly live images of a family that they went through a supposed abduction. And there was this lady that she tried to explain everything that happened. And supposedly, um, everything that she went through at the last moment, supposedly was by stages, but the last moment she even got paralyzed, um, because basically I think her body was being manipulated, and the last time it was so intense that something happened with her spine or something like that. She couldn't even walk last time. But they put the image of the movie, like reenacting it, and then they put the image of what truly happened, and they put like images of that lady being interviewed and all that, and even at the moment that she was having this episode.
Mm.
So, but still, it is a movie. It is like a movie documentary. So sometimes you never know what is being manipulated, what is being portrayed as science or fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
do believe that even though I cannot even demonstrate it, but I think that we're not the only ones in Earth that claim that to be the living species in the entire galaxy. I mean, there has to be some type of distant minds out there that they are superior of our kind. Um, I was reading Dr. Mishu Kaku. He is a particular professor. He is a
Yep.
physicist, and
Smart guy.
he explained the possibility that when we enter, the belief of other entities and other type of superior civilization,
Mm.
is that he goes ahead and he divides in three types of civilization. Like right now, the human race is supposed to be in type 0, because the reason for that is because we are only um, able just to manipulate the type of resources of gas, um, coal, and any other type of energy that still we're polluting our planet. But when he talks about civilization one, it's probably the way of maybe the human race getting to the stage of manipulating the entire energy of the planet. You know, being able to manipulate the let's say the weather with
Mm-hmm.
accuracy, even able to predict an earthquake, even able to do so much stuff that like we own our resources. So the type 2 would be going beyond of manipulating the Earth energy. It's just manipulating any other planets of our inner galaxy. And the type 3 will be like, to put it into perspective, or an example would be like if you were in Star Wars, that you will be now calling any other type of galaxies. So, you know, there's a lot of type of evidence that maybe we can get to a conclusion, but you know, until we get that particular clear proof, it's when we're going to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're not the only ones. We clearly are amongst other species that are really superior to us, and maybe they don't look like us. Maybe they're in disguise.
Maybe they
But
do.
see, maybe they do, yeah. But see that there's a lot of claims when it comes to, you know, even involving the military, you know. Um, and you and I, we had a talk one time that, like, since you um, were in the Air Force, and you were saying that, like, okay, well, a lot of the militaries, they do have level of clearance. Not everybody will know what the other clearance level is doing.
Correct.
So, but you know, within them, I know there has to be like any type of secrecy when it comes to, you know, distance mines, because like not everybody would like to know all their secrets. And if they are able or capable to do reverse engineering, it's going to be to their advantage. They would not like to disclose that to any other countries. And now you're seeing that we're getting more advanced and advanced. We're implementing the other way of conquer, you know, any other parts of the world and even space. So,
Would you
you
say,
know,
well, if I could say, would you say, speaking about the different levels and, you know, the abilities of the life forms, at what stage they are in, as far as their technological advances, et cetera, would you say something like a type 2 um, had, you know, any involvement, let's say, with something like the pyramids of Egypt or something like that? And I hear that a lot, that, you know, here come the smarter race, we'll call it, or, you know, because
mhm,
just for lack of a better, the visitors, they're coming to
yes,
the Earth, and they're saying, hey, we have super advanced technology. We're going to help you put some fucking pyramids together.
yeah,
Um, we're not going to you're not going to see any other pyramids built elsewhere on the Earth. We're just going to come here. Um, you know, we're not going to show you how to build the technology that we currently have. You know, because I don't know. I always think of it like, like I'm using my cell phone right now, right? This iPhone 8,
yep,
and the materials used to create this phone, other than the idea itself, but the physical materials were located in the Earth. You know, it's like, to really distill it down, you know, in a simple analogy here, it's like literally putting your hand into the dirt and pulling a cell phone out, right? That
yeah.
technology, that ability was always the case, always there. It just took.
You there?
Right. Oh,
but but I think, you know,
I'm sorry, Mike. You have to
yeah.
back. You kind of froze up. So what you were saying?
Oh, okay. I was just saying, in a nutshell, you know, you have the super advanced spaceship, let's say, or the visitors coming to the Earth, and the most that the humans, in this claim, you know, the most that the humans were able to extract from them was, as far as we can tell, you know, something like a pyramid, let's say, versus, I don't know, the ability to use aircraft in the same way, or something like a cell phone back in, you know, ancient Egyptian times. I mean, that's kind of the hang up for me, but maybe Xavier, you have something to say about that, or Carlos.
Well, yeah. I mean, for sure, definitely the technology that we have, we are using our resources here that we have on Earth. So using your analogy, is yeah, pretty much the same. It's like digging into the dirt and pulling out a cell phone. You know, it'll be amazing if there is some type of alien kind or another species that's out of our own Earth come down and work to, let's say, help construct the pyramids or something of the sort. Which is
But
like the
but
whole.
do you find it strange, though, that when they did in those claims, when, if you know, you hear the stories of aliens assisted with maybe the pyramids, for example. Do you
Mm,
find it strange that the best that the humans could best information that they could extract from them as far as evidence that, of that claim would be a pyramid versus they had cell phones, let's say, for example, showing them how to do high level type things, far beyond what would be typically expected. I mean, the pyramids are still amazing, don't get me wrong, but I would expect to see something like, hey, and we're going to leave this Jetsons vehicle here for you guys. You guys can, we gave you the instructions or the blueprints, and this is how you do it.
Well, my thing is this, like, let's say you take your cell phone out right now. In order to create that cell phone, you have to, get the materials. So in order to build an iPhone 8 right now, there's a lot of places in Earth that you have to dig and get the materials.
Correct. Yeah.
But let me tell you, there's going to be a time that we're going to be running out of those materials. So what happens if the only way, and this is being think right now, that you can get those materials is going to be outside of the Earth, because what we're doing is just like, taking so much out of the Earth that we're changing the climate. So if you're thinking, well, maybe a pyramid is the best thing that you were able to have or see as an evidence, maybe not. Maybe they didn't want to leave their technology in order for us to be so advanced that we can take over them, So it's the same thing when, let's say, Christopher Columbus did when he came to America. He basically tricked the native Indians there. He went ahead and he showed them their things, but for what cost? For all their gold. They took all their gold. When you go to Spain, you see all their gold there.
So kind of a cosmic quid pro quo, you're saying. Okay, so if we're going to go with that, I'm curious about that. What would you say the, more advanced, people, let's call them, visiting this planet where people are using stones and rocks and grinding things, and they're thinking they're doing big shit, and then here comes the Jetsons, and they're like, this is small shit here. We have heavy ion cannons, or we have relativistic ion colliders, and we're using these things to create black holes and warp space time to travel long distances or whatever.
Yep.
What would they be pulling a fast one, or what would they be trying to get from the humans in doing all of that? Because that, in my perspective, you'd be using a lot of resources. I don't know. Maybe it's like nothing to them, but if it was using a lot of resources to come to the Earth, I just, I'm thinking, you're helping these people out. You don't really need anything from them because you're already doing pretty fucking good. You're doing really good. You didn't have to stop here.
Yeah.
You could have, so it's kind of, I don't know. That's my whole thing, is that it was just kind of like the rich king coming down to the ghetto and, making a sandwich for this poor person. And it's kind of like,
well, see, but if you go to some place that you want to get something, but you encounter civilization that it's like really under your particular level of intelligence, and you want to make sure to get all the resources you need, but without any disruption, So you may probably present yourself as a deity, right? And you will say, hey, you know what? I can do this, but in order for you to be, in another level, you got to do this for me. I help you with this, but you do this for me. But maybe they leave it there because, like, if you look in the world, you go to India, you go to Indonesia, you go to China, you go to Peru, you will find any kinds of pyramids. So what if all the pyramids that you see, what if all the, influence that you see just because of the other civilization to communicate to their people to say, hey, we're going to be on this place. You got to find this particular monkey figure. And can you locate that? Yeah, it's on this position of the Earth. So, that's one of my thinking, because basically, um, you as in a superior civilization, if you go and you show everything that you are or everything that you want to do, you
Mhm.
may get like a resistance or a disruption. You know, being like you have a ship, being like you have any type of machinery just to dig the planet Earth or do these things. So you might scare any living person that is there.
Yeah.
So you may probably
Okay.
want to portray like something else, just to trick their intelligence, you know, in your particular way of getting what you need, because that's the thing. Like anywhere you look at right now, we are trying to seek any other planet that is the same as planet Earth, to see if one day we're not able to live here on Earth, we can go to the other planet that are similar.
So you think they
So
might be doing the same thing?
they might be doing the same thing, because it's all about resource. It's all about like
But what
getting
about
everything.
what about experimenting on humans and these type of claims? You think
It may be, but I just don't know. I just don't have that, concrete evidence, because basically, there's a missing link also in the evolution that we're all being told. Like we're all being told that we come directly from the monkeys and stuff like that. But
well, great apes,
when
yeah.
yeah, well, but when you see the trend of what has been happening, I mean, you always get to a missing link. So now they're talking the other day that we may come from a mix from Neanderthal and another species.
Hmm.
So we may have not come like they were saying before. So we're always
Well,
finding new things and new theories, but there's the question that like probably we're being experimented just to become a better race, maybe to adapt in a better way. Because like, if you think about it, we are the only civilization in Earth that we're not able to sustain a high temperature in the sun or in the cold, or
mm,
so like you can't even survive in the jungle.
not
Um,
anymore. Not anymore. Not anymore.
well, have you seen Naked
Well,
and Afraid? It's pretty damn difficult if you go to the jungle without any clothes and try to survive if you're from a particular urban part of the planet. Um, Not if you're having all your life living in the Amazon, but like it's a little bit difficult. So I mean, we learn to adapt. We learn to pass on faces throughout the years, but you come to the place that like if somebody throws you into the middle of the desert, unless you find water, you're not going to be able to survive. You need water,
right, right, right,
you
right.
need food for energy. So we are constantly fighting for um, our, let's say, survival in this world. We are always fighting for our temperature. You
By
know,
any means necessary. Which brings me to, I know we have a few minutes here, but just really quick. On both sides, humans exploring and possible distant minds visiting us. Um, Positive or negative experience, or motives. What do you think? Do you think if we were to travel elsewhere and find something of reasonable intelligence that was able to be self-aware and see us and maybe not necessarily communicate with us, but do you think that we as human beings would have ill will towards that being, or even vice versa on the flip side of that?
um, that's a very good question, because basically it may be both ways. Because what if we're trying to find something, but species that we're trying to find, they don't want to be found. You know, um, what if they know that we're getting to that point that like we're maybe acquiring their technology, but they don't want us to do that. You know, so I heard, I think it was this guy, um, his name is Edward. Um, I think it was the one who escaped to. I think it was to Russia.
Oh,
Um,
Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden, yeah, who said that he hacked every computer possible, and he had never find anything about aliens or the NASA also said that they try to seek for any entities and they have no evidence that they had found anything yet. But my question will be like, what if they know that they are looking, they don't want to be found?
Would you
You know?
personally feel that way if we were to find out that something had landed here, a group, maybe about our size, maybe a little bit bigger, shack size? Would you assume negative intent, or would you be open to, seeing what they're doing? I mean,
I really think it's probably will be. It really depends on how we take other things. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we as in humanity are pretty primal, and we like to go out and explore, and if anything that is different from our norm, we're usually afraid of it. And that's our survival instinct, to be afraid of the unknown. That's perhaps maybe one of the reasons why we have racism or any type of ignorance, just not being educated about the other party. So I think the overall humanity will probably be afraid of it and probably will assume there will be some type of ill will of this species of what kind, of whatever kind it is. So I think that would probably be just a natural reaction um, to it all. I was looking through some of the comments that we have here, and Kathy Larson said, I think they would have to be able to fold time and space or something similar. I think she was speaking to the part of this was like 11:22 p.m. Um, no, 11:02 p.m. We were talking about the aliens and if they I don't know. Well, if she come back and she probably re-explain. We have actually a lot of comments in here.
oh, that's great. That's really good. Um, yeah, man. I was disappointed that this got pushed back, and with the whole gutting of the Facebook Live, it just kind of really cut the legs out from under us. And the last time we did a live was last year, I think, doing the love talk. So that was, but yeah, I'm definitely glad we still have the supporters, man. This is great. But both of you Carlos and you Xavier, personal. If you were to see an alien, it's not doing anything. Maybe it's eating a pine cone. It's just fucking eating a pine cone. It's trying a pine cone. It doesn't know what it is. Maybe it doesn't even like it. It's spitting it out, saying this is fucking nasty. Whatever. You can tell it's just trying to eat this pine cone. Would your first reaction, honest reaction, be to harm it, to run away, or take pictures, video? Maybe easier said than done, sitting here in our homes. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, I know for me personally, I would probably try to take a video.
I think I
Um,
would do the same thing. I would freak out. Yeah,
it really
absolutely.
depends
But
on, but I think it ultimately would turn into me running away, and I've been through a lot of shit, but I mean that something like that. I mean, you just really don't know. But me personally, I would try to take a video just so someone believes me. But if it was feeling like I could be killed or harmed, I'm going to try to run away. I'm not going to assume that I can overpower it or get my gun and shoot it or anything like this. That's me personally. But what about
yeah,
the either of you?
I don't know. I would just try to hide so they don't see me and try to see if I can take a video. Just to say, hey man, I got one of them. It's real. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like one of those things that you don't know what may happen because Professor Hawkins he said that. he even talked about like the possibility that if they're here, they're not going to be friendly, you know. But you know, we don't know.
Right.
It's something that when the time comes, it's what's going to tell it what's going on. But
And you never see. I know. I still want to get your response, but you never see enough movies. I mean, if we're going to be making these movies, you never see enough movies of a friendly encounter, right? I mean, E.T., I guess, but it's usually taking you, slapping you down on some slab, and twisting your nipples, and sadomasochism shit going on, covering you in goo and honey, and greasing you up, and then letting you out in the woods somewhere butt naked. I mean, that's basically, with or without something going up your ass. I mean, that's really what you see in these movies, or some kind of monster that just wants to eat you with some kind of mindless beast or something trying to eat you. I mean, I never see that part of the conversation. I mean, even E.T. making it friendly, it was really more of a hide this thing the whole movie. I mean, I don't know. So that has a lot to do with the culture itself, and maybe even my response to run away and assuming that it's going to do me harm. But X, I want you to jump in on that question. Try to kill it, run away, or gawk.
Yeah. So I think I wouldn't try to kill it. I guess it depends on how it looks and appear.
Jesus.
I mean, well, think about it now. There's all different types of species of dogs. If this dog looked like a wolf, or maybe a pit bull, whatever stereotype of a aggressive dog, I probably would run away from it. If it's a cute little, I don't know, beagle or whatever, I mean, they come up there and pet it. Although that beagle may have rabies and probably bite me and I would die. So that would be probably stupid of me to approach it. But
it'd be easier for you to,
But it'd probably be easier for me to approach it because of the appearance or whatever my mind think of a friendly species or whatever. So yeah, I honestly though I think I would probably capture it on video and stay away from it. I wouldn't try to capture it or anything like that or communicate with it or I mean
I'm just thinking of it like what if I'm the first contact that it's making and I'm ruining the experience for all humans, and because of my action, whatever it is, throwing a rock or something or an acorn, just trying to trying to throw a stick at it or something, it's saying, oh, motherfucker's trying to hurt me. And then now I've either caused them to never come back or caused them to want to eviscerate.
Exactly, but that's my whole point with when it comes to explaining about the pyramids and the other civilization coming to Earth, and having the humans at that time build the pyramids for them so they can get the resource and not having a disruption, because that's the thing, like you never know what's going to happen with a reaction. That's really probably important because like Xavier was saying, what if I grab that beagle thinking it is a beagle and then that beagle bites me because it's freaking out because it has never seen a human being or anything like that, and then boom, everything goes away. So that's one of the things that we don't know basically. Like I said, I mean, I just don't know how the reaction will be, but I don't know. I think that when the time comes, maybe there's not going to be one. There's probably going to be like a big disruption first because they probably right now know how our technology works or maybe aware of who we are. Um, but it's one of those mysteries. Like,
I always thought too with
I think these lives cut off at about 40 minutes. I think
well, you're freezing up for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with you.
It's always his phone or something. You're back. You're back.
Oh, I think
Now you're gone. So I'm just gonna. So I just want to say this, and then we'll wrap it up. I always thought that with the encounters with some of the testimonies of people saying that they have any type of encounters with aliens or some kind, or seeing some type of unidentified flying object. I say, don't be so curious if it was us of the human race from the future, and they got back in some type of spaceship and travel back in time and visit us. I said that'd be really freaky. We thinking that it is something of this time, and it's something actually from the future. Time travel. That's a far stretch. I don't have any proof of that, but who knows? That's something funny to think about. But any final thoughts before we go?
Well, I would say if I was abducted, I doubt that they would release me. That's the only thing that I have issue with a lot of the claims, and that's the only way we can hear the claims if they're fucking released, right? I mean, hey, I just pulled this shit out of my ass, and I'm taking all this these clamps and shit off of me, and I can tell you this story, but I understand that. But for me, it's like if someone was abducted on the Earth, and for whatever reason, I'm not inclined to think that they would be released. I know we catch and release fish all the time, but I don't know. That's kind of where I stand on it. I do think that it's possible for other minds similar to ours or greater or lesser than to be out there in the vast cosmos, and I look forward to convincing evidence that they have visited us.
All right, Carlos, final thoughts.
Yeah, I would think in any position that I will be abducted, I may think I will be studied just like everybody claimed. Um, I'm not sure about being released or not released. I may think that there is a big possibility they want to release you back to see how you react after you being tested by them, just to see, probably how human society
ostracizes
conduct.
them.
Yeah, well, that's the part of an experiment. You want to find a reaction after you get a particular physically test. So, but who knows?
But there's some people say that they've been adopted multiple times.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
Kind of like tagging, find and check on the status, your progress.
I mean, how many guinea pigs we use just to make an experiment when it doesn't work? Oh, okay. Subject B didn't take it. Subject A, we see a slightly change. Let's try it again.
Intensive
Maybe something
outpatient
like
3
that.
times a week. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I may think that they might be in the lookout to change your DNA. Maybe see if we can get a better way of surviving. But
all right. Well, I think this was a successful talk, a good comeback here on this quarantine edition of Tiger Talk. I guess we'll just wrap it up here. Yeah.
All right. You guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you again,
you
Carlos,
too.
for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Nice meeting you, Xavier.
Nice meeting you.
Pleasure. All right, man. Have a good one.
So, peace.
Peace.
And in this broadcast right